How's it going, people? Today I will be reviewing a remake of one of my favorite games from my childhood, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, developed by Team Ninja. Smash that like and subscribe button if you want to see more of this content. I spent 14 hours in this game, 10 of which was the main story, reviewed on Xbox Series X. The gameplay of Black is fast-paced, non-stop action, and it readopts the gory style seen in vanilla, which was lost in Sigma. There are 10 melee weapons and a couple of range weapons, but sadly they didn't bring over the favored windmill or incendiary shurikens from the original. Each melee weapon has its own set of combos, and you can really learn how to master the combat. Each weapon has a full list of combos you can scroll through and unlock more as you upgrade the weapon. Equally, what I love about Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is that button mashing is a perfectly viable way to play on the lower difficulties. Speaking of, there are 5 difficulties, meaning there is a challenge level fit for everyone. This also alludes to significant replayability. You have a fast attack, a heavy attack, a block, and a dodge, and all of these can be combined in the combos I just mentioned. Moves like the brutal and iconic Azuna drop return where you spin down from the air and explode the enemy's head. This can be used across all weapons, but each weapon has their own moves too, whether it be slicing someone in half with the Eclipse Scythe, removing every single limb with multiple swings of the Vigurian Flail, or a quick and precise decapitation with the Dragon Sword. This game's bread and butter is the obliteration technique. When you hack off an enemy's limb, they will still be in the battle. They'll come at you with no arms or no legs, and sometimes can even be more dangerous as they will perform an exploding suicide move that will deal a lot of damage. To prevent this, Ryu can use the obliteration technique, which is simply pressing the heavy attack button next to an enemy missing a limb to do as it says on the tin, obliterate them. This is a brutal finishing move which is always incredibly satisfying, and each weapon has its own variations of this. Ryu has access to special magic abilities called Nimpo. These come in 4 forms and can be used by consuming a Nimpo charge. There is a defensive one and 3 attacking ones. These could range from setting an enemy on fire, to slicing them up with wind, to powerfully removing a limb with a ball of energy. These also help to give you some respite, as Ryu cannot be damaged when using these. Each enemy defeated will drop an essence which can be yellow, blue, or red. Yellow is currency that can be used in the store, blue heals you, and red is used to refill your Nimpo charges. These can be absorbed to use what is called an ultimate technique, which is a special charged move. The more essence that is around to absorb, the quicker the move will charge and unleash its annihilating fury. This gives a very fluid combat loop and keeps you in the action. Part of this fast-paced and fluid combat is of course the enemies, and I have to say the enemy variety in Black is very, very good. There were more enemy types than I remember being in vanilla, and it was very satisfying coming across a new way to finish an enemy off, a new head to chop or limb to remove. The crucial thing that this game needs to serve this over-the-top combat is hordes of enemies, and it does deliver on that, although in less quantities than vanilla, which is a shame. There are boss fights in the game, and to be honest, they were probably my least favorite encounters. These slow the pace of the combat down significantly, and you must work on the defensive. The dodging and the countering in this game I find to be the most clunky, and so that was a negative for me. I do have fond memories of them from the 360 era, but in reality they feel more like a story dump than a necessity. Some of these bosses are different from the original title, removing some of the terrible ones, which is a good touch. In Black, there are 3 additional chapters where you can play as the other 3 characters, Momiji, Rachel, and Ayane. These weren't present in the original, but I believe they introduced them in Sigma and kept them in for Black. These chapters are short but enjoyable to play. Each has their own unique weapons, combos, Nimpo, and boss fights. Ayane especially has some incredible moves and was incredibly fun to play as. All 3 characters are present in the Ninja Gaiden universe, and the levels themselves align with Ryu's story and see you retreading steps just after he has passed through. This was good to see, as some use the same level areas but open new paths to see more of the map, which I thought was creative. The traversal is badass and really puts the ninja in Ninja Gaiden. You will be wall running, flipping up between pillars, wall jumping, running on water, and all of these can be combined with combat. There is no better feeling than running along a wall and slicing someone's head off in the process. It can help you get out of a tricky situation too. Find yourself cornered? No problem. You can simply run up the wall, do a backflip into a ground pound, and probably defeat a couple of enemies in the process. Once again, all of these mechanics are supplying the fuel for the incredible combat. Lastly, Lastly, for gameplay, there is the shop and the upgrade system. The shop is where you can either upgrade your weapons or buy health consumables. Weapons can be upgraded to level 3, and each upgrade gives them a damage increase and also unlocks new combos. There is a couple of weapons that can go higher than level 3, but these are both story related. The consumables come in the form of 2 different health items or a mushroom that replenishes your Nimpo. Small and concise, as that is all you really need. There is also a revive talisman that you can carry 1 of at a time, but you won't really need to use this if you are on the easier difficulties. You can also find items across the world hidden in chests or on bodies that can upgrade your Nimpo slots, Nimpo spells, and your health. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black has revamped its visuals through Unreal Engine 5, and it looks absolutely fantastic. The water and fog were serious upgrades, and some areas like the castle and Snow City really wowed me. The enemy designs are largely the same, but the higher definition really worked wonders, especially on the bosses who all looked amazing. Biggest shout out to Alexei, whose design was just phenomenal. Not to mention Ryu himself, as well as the cast of female characters are all designed well for the most part. There are unlockable outfits in this game too, much like the vanilla title, which is so reminiscent of what action games used to be. I love to see them making a return. The blood effects can be turned off if you are of the queasy sort, but I wouldn't advise it, as the over-the-top gore really attributes to the fun of this game. The game runs a smooth 60 on console, and I didn't notice any frame drops or screen tears, but I did get some visual bugs. There was this one particular level where I think the enemy progression markers were displaying as physical boxes on screen. Then there's the camera. You are constantly fighting the camera in this game. It follows the usual 360 era trend, but it does not work in the modern era, especially for a game as fast-paced as this. I put my camera sensitivity right up at the beginning, and I would recommend you do too, as it feels like it's in slow motion when trying to rotate it. It always snaps to a bad angle after an obliteration technique and when coming out of traversal sections. It's incredibly frustrating at times. This game has a very good OST. These are fast-paced electronic bops that also incorporate heavy guitars. It fits in with the combat and just makes you want to grit your teeth as you rip enemies apart. The level where you are going through the water city making your way to Wolf was truly memorable to me, as I was just destroying the wolf enemies with this heavy soundtrack destroying my ears. I think it would also be a good soundtrack to take to the gym or out on a run. The story of Ninja Gaiden 2 is very inexplicable, and you kind of just go through the motions. It starts with a CIA agent seeking you out and then getting kidnapped, and you go on this journey that revolves around the evil ninja clan, the Spider Ninjas. This ninja clan is cooperating with the 4 greater fiends of the underworld. You then progress by defeating these greater fiends one by one as they wreak havoc across the world before entering into the underworld yourself to stop an even greater evil. While the story is by no means a narrative masterclass, it serves the purpose of this action game and keeps it on a path by providing just enough background to explain both the environments and the enemies you are encountering. Crystal Skulls are back, but this time they have more of an effect. In the vanilla version, they only provided karma, but in Black, they provide a shop discount. By the end, I had 23 skulls and a 30% discount, which was great. It is worth noting though that this discount only applies to the consumables and not to the weapon upgrades. There are also additional playable modes which were included in Sigma, but not vanilla. These are the Chapter Challenge and Team Tag missions. Chapter Challenge is selecting a chapter and being able to play through it at any difficulty with your fully upgraded character. Effectively New Game Plus, but for a specific chapter. The tag team missions I played some of and enjoyed. Each difficulty has its own tag team missions, and these are small combat segments where you can play as 2 characters from the selection of Ryu, Ayane, Rachel, and Momiji. You cannot use any healing items and must make it through the combat encounter scoring as high as possible. This mode was good turn your mind off fun, but it can get nails hard on the higher difficulties. There is also the Ninja Records page, which shows you all of your stats through the game. How many kills with each weapon and person, your highest difficulty completion, how many Azuna drops you performed, really anything you can think of. There are no online features in this title though. I really enjoyed my time with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. where I revisited one of my favorite titles from almost 20 years ago. The combat is sensational, and the fact it can be enjoyed through the simplicity of button mashing or by getting into the minutiae of the combo sheet is fantastic game design. The variation in the weapons and the enemies keep the game fresh, and it also looks gorgeous in its Unreal Engine 5 packaging. The story is passable for an action game, but it is mostly let down by the boss fights and the terrible camera. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black gets a casual gamer score of 8.5 out of 10. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this game, or if you are planning to pick it up. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and for everything casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.